Were you hit by a commercial vehicle, some sort of corporate vehicle? Are you clueless as to where to go next? Are you calling the right people? Are you getting anybody to call at all? Or is this some sort of weird, I don't even know what's going on situation? This happens a lot. Tune in. We're going to talk about how we can navigate this so that you're making one call and taking care of it all. That's right. This is Attorney Bowers, your accident and injury guy, sitting here in my Elkton office. Happy Monday to everybody. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I sure did. We were out at the night fight event that I mentioned in the last episode. Packed house, fun time. If you've never experienced something like that before, they've got more shows coming up in September. I'm sure that we're going to talk about them here when we get closer to that, because most of the time they do these shows and give a portion of their proceeds to some sort of local cause, which is always fantastic. But today we are talking about helping you. This is a topic that comes up in my office all of the time because we handle so many accident cases here in Elkton, in Cecil County. And for anybody who's around here, you know there are a ton of commercial vehicles on the road. And when you get hit by these commercial vehicles, it can be a super difficult process to navigate. Even if the police come out, do a report, put full information on there, there are so many different scenarios that make these things complicated and convoluted. Now, with smaller companies, a lot of times they just have commercial insurance through a major carrier, and the information is right there on the police report. You pick up the phone. They're normally not as well staffed, these insurance companies, not an absolute, none of this is. So it might be a little bit, compared to other bigger insurance companies, but you, with the commercial lines, you tend to take a little bit longer to get in touch with people. You wait a little bit longer for a call back, things like that. Again, spoiler alert, all of this is going to circle back around to just call in my office. The information is right down there, the 885-6200 number. This is what we do. We navigate this stuff. So once you get out of like that smaller company, the real local companies, and you get into some of the big stuff, that's where it gets super complicated. As you've noticed more and more, we are seeing Amazon take over the roadways. It used to be that most of those Amazon deliveries were performed by the United States Postal Service. Some of them still are, but now Amazon's out there with their dedicated vehicles. They also have a different program out there where individuals can sign up as independent contractors to show up, pick up deliveries, and take them where they are, almost like DoorDash, except for Amazon packages. These could be tricky situations to navigate because I can tell you firsthand from my office, the very first time a couple years back when one of those big gray and blue Amazon, the transit type vehicles hit a client who hired us. What was on the police report is not the company that we're actually dealing with to resolve the claim and to negotiate the claim. We went through almost a week of over the river, through the woods. This call goes to that one. Then you leave a voice message and somebody calls you back. It was a real Pepe Silva situation. I mean, everything was connected. Nothing was connected. It was a nightmare. Now, somebody calls us and said, hey, I was hit by one of those Amazon vans. Boom. We got you. We know exactly who to call. We don't have to go over the river. We don't have to go through the woods. We don't have to deal with Pepe Silva. And if you don't know what that means, then don't worry about it. Easy process. You call us, we take care of the rest. That's with the transit vans. You've got totally different layers, totally different situations when you're dealing with one of those more individual ones. United States Postal Service, one of those vehicles hits you, that's a whole nother claim process. There's a whole different notice requirement there are so many different pitfalls and traps in reporting those claims and doing it the right way that, dare I say, you need somebody like our office to handle that. Other situations, big trucks. We've got a lot, we've got rest stops at both exits here, all three exits in Cecil County, the Northeast and we're about to have a fourth one. We're going to be getting one midway between Perryville and Northeast, sometime probably over the next 5 to 8 years. More truck traffic. There are accidents all the time, not just on the highways, but out and about. Many of you probably know and have seen either some accidents or some near misses at that interchange with Bell Hill Road and Elkton Newark Road right out there. When you get hit by these trucking companies, there's a whole myriad of different options. Sometimes it's super simple. The name of the company that's on the side of the truck is the company that owns the truck. It's not just a trailer that somebody is an owner operator that's hitched up to, that's just hired for that. All of these potentially have layers upon layers upon layers of digging to do to find out who is actually here, who is actually owed this claim, who works for who in what scenario. And it can be super tricky, super difficult to navigate. And, no two things that look similar are necessarily the same. So those trucking vehicles, and I will tell you right now, those companies, a lot of times are insured by companies that don't have somebody even hired to answer the phone. They make it as difficult as possible for you to work with them. Even sometimes when we're involved, it is not the easiest process. They assume, and sometimes they're even counting on you getting frustrated, you filing a claim with your insurance company and being like, well, I guess I got my car repaired. Maybe my health insurance paid for most of the medical. Maybe I've got supplemental benefits at work like Aflac that covers the copays and probably a lot of times more than just the copays. And then they hope that you just walk away. Well, you're certainly entitled to substantially more than barely breaking even when it comes to these claims. So obviously that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you navigate that. Not even help you navigate that. We're here to navigate that process for you so that you call us, you go to the doctor, you do whatever the doctors need you to do to feel better. We take care of all the stress and anxiety of these claims and make sure that you get a fair shake resolving them and not having to deal with that wild and crazy situation. Sometimes you've got insurance companies that insure a vehicle or a business or something like that, but then they outsource the claim management to yet another company. Those are super tricky. Those are complicated. You sometimes don't know who you're calling, who you're talking to. And then all of a sudden, midway through the process, you might get a check-in call from somebody with that parent company. There's no need to deal with any of that. We're here to handle all of that for you. That way you're just dealing with us. And then the other one that we don't see a lot here in Cecil County, but I used to see it way too much when I would handle claims that were in Baltimore City, when I would do more work in Baltimore City, but that would be taxi cab companies. The smaller taxi cab companies are usually insured with a company called MAFE. They're a pain to deal with. They are what we refer to as the insurer of last resort here in Maryland. But there is an even larger, all of the big cab companies that are in Baltimore City are technically not motor vehicles, and they are covered and handled under an entire different set of laws. And I will tell you right now, if you think that you are negotiating in good faith an insurance claim with the company that handles the payouts for the cab companies in Baltimore City, think again. More often than not, I hear stories about people who have come to agreements and then the checks never show up. In fact, even years ago, handling a claim here, we ended up needing to file with the insurance commission to get them to threaten to pull the license from all of those cabs if they didn't pay. And even then, it was a real pain to get our client paid. We have gone all the way to trial and verdict in some of these cases, and the check doesn't show up. So we've ended up getting additional interest payments on top of the verdicts because of how horrible these cab companies are. You absolutely don't want to deal with them alone. Now, some of the smaller local cab companies that we're going to see here in Cecil County, they have different, those are classified differently. So it's not as challenging, although if they are insured with MAPE, they are certainly not easy or convenient to deal with. The other thing that is also a little bit of a tricky wicket to navigate, again, something that we don't deal with quite as much, although I'm seeing more and more of it here, is Uber and Lyft. The rideshare companies. Additionally, this applies where we do have a lot of are the DoorDash and the Uber Eats drivers, because those folks, you've got multiple layers of potential insurance. Because some of these auto insurance companies, you've got people out there driving their own personal vehicles to work on these rideshare or delivery apps. Kind of like the situation that we were talking about earlier with Amazon and those independent delivery drivers. There should be a layer of insurance for the company, whether it be Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Amazon, whoever it might be. But then that person also has a personal insurance policy for that vehicle. Some companies exclude their coverage when somebody is doing rideshare. Some companies don't. And other companies, you can purchase a special provision that'll make sure that you are covered under that original policy. There's nothing that you can do to look at a vehicle and be like, oh, that is a DoorDash driver who is independently insured. That is an Uber driver who's only insured by Uber. It is so mixed up. It is so all over the place. If you try to navigate this yourself, it will probably drive you a little nuts. So, as I've mentioned before, a lot of this stuff is about getting professional help. For anybody who is somehow unaware, we navigate this whole process for you with no upfront fee. We only get paid when we are successful in getting you paid. Our fee is a percentage of that. So no risk on your part. If we somehow can't win this case, if there is no insurance, if there is no recovery, you owe us zero. So again, don't hesitate to call 410-885-6200. We are here to help you with all of your accident needs, but especially today, we're talking about those commercial vehicles, whether it be cab companies, trucking companies, or those Amazon delivery vehicles. We have the expertise. We have the experience. Again, a process that's going to take you weeks to navigate. We are now, boom, right in there because years ago, we handled our very first one. We went through all that trial and error. We went through all that process, that whole the strings all over the board, almost looks like a conspiracy theory. We know there's somebody handling this claim, but we just don't know who it is. So just give us a call if you have one of those situations. Also, if you have questions for the podcast, we would love to talk about it. Send us an email, info@bowerslawmd.com. If it is accident related, if it is something that I am versed in and handle and can help you with, I'm going to do an episode like this. If it is something outside my wheelhouse, like for example, here's a little teaser. We are doing something about employment law and wage theft in 2 weeks. We're going to have an expert on here who does that almost all day, every day. His name's Bruce Godfrey. He's a good friend of mine. I have been sending him employment discrimination and wage theft cases for years, and he has time and time again been nailing and locking down great results for his clients, for our clients, for anybody that we send to him. He is the go-to guy. We're going to have him on here to talk about that and the details in just 2 weeks. So come back next week, tell a friend, subscribe, make sure you're getting those alerts so you can see this live. Otherwise, maybe you're navigating this on YouTube and you found us there. Again, if you have been in an accident with a commercial vehicle, a trucking company, Amazon, taxi cabs, any other sort of business entity, Uber, Lyft, whatever, we've already got the blueprint. We've already got the script. Save yourself a ton of time, a ton of stress. and let us handle it here at Bowers Law. So until next time, this is Attorney Bowers, your Cecil County accident and injury guy. Be well out there. Have a great week.